Alicia Monroe stood at the head of the mahogany table, her hand extended, a soft smile on her face. Billionaire CEO Richard Vaughan didn't budge. He looked at her hand, then smirked. "I don't shake hands with staff," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The silence that followed was crushing. Assistants stiffened, executives exchanged awkward glances, and someone in the corner cleared their throat as if trying to swallow the discomfort. Alicia didn't flinch. She slowly withdrew her hand, nodded politely, and sat down, composed, graceful, lethal. Because what Richard didn't know, what no one in that room knew, was that Alicia wasn't staff. She wasn't just a consultant. She wasn't even there for him. She was the decision maker, and within the next 10 minutes, she would cost him $5 billion. Let me take you back. Alicia Monroe was a financial strategist, forged in fire. Born and raised in Detroit, she clawed her way through night classes, single motherhood, and back-to-back rejections in boardrooms that looked just like this one, rooms where men like Richard made it their sport to underestimate her. What they didn't know was that Alicia had quietly built a reputation behind the scenes. Her analytics saved companies. Her negotiations closed impossible deals. CEOs who listened to her made money. Those who didn't last long. The Orion Group, one of the world's largest infrastructure investment funds, knew this, which is why they sent Alicia, not Richard, to finalize the joint venture. On paper, Richard Vaughan's tech empire was about to merge with Orion for a $5 billion international expansion. But the deal came with a catch. Final approval depended solely on Alicia's recommendation. She was not a secretary, not a staffer. She was the gatekeeper. But Richard, drunk on status, never bothered to learn that. He saw a calm black woman in a tailored suit and assumed she was someone's assistant. So he dismissed her. When Alicia spoke, Richard barely made eye contact. When she presented market data, he interrupted. When she asked strategic questions about the merger's ethical implications, he scoffed and said, "That's above your pay grade." The final straw. At one point, Alicia pulled out a document with flagged inconsistencies. Numbers that showed Richard's company had quietly offloaded underperforming assets just weeks before the proposed merger. Instead of addressing it, Richard leaned back in his chair, arms folded, and said with a smug grin, "Sweetheart, maybe you should leave the math to the grown-ups." That was it. Alicia calmly gathered her papers, stood, and said one sentence that would echo across Wall Street for weeks. "Mr. Vaughan, I've seen enough." And she walked out. 10 minutes later, in the Orion Group's private conference room, she made her call. "This merger poses a reputational and financial risk. My recommendation is to withdraw." That was all it took. Hours later, the $5 billion deal was officially dead. Richard was blindsided. He scrambled, called Orion's chairman directly, pleaded, blamed junior staff, offered to renegotiate. But it was too late. By the end of the week, word of what happened had spread across every major financial circle. Alicia Monroe wasn't just trending on social media, she was headlining Forbes and Bloomberg. A video of the boardroom moment leaked. The part where Richard refused to shake her hand. The phrase, "I don't shake hands with staff," became a meme, a lesson, and a warning all at once. And Alicia. She was promoted to executive director at Orion, not because of what Richard did, but because of how she handled it. With dignity, with fire, with precision. That's the thing about power. It doesn't always wear a billion-dollar suit or shout across a table. Sometimes it walks in quietly, listens carefully, and speaks only when it counts. And when it does speak, it shakes the entire room. So the next time you're in a meeting, don't judge the person across from you by their gender, skin, or title. Because the one you ignore today might be the one holding your billion-dollar future.